Hello, my name is Baron from Baron's Military Masks, and in today's video I want to go over a experimental gas mask in my collection, or a prototype. This is the US Experimental XM30 Chemical Biological Protective Mask. These were developed from 1980 to 1983 and were developed into the US MCU 2P and the MCU 2AP in 1983. The MCU 2P in 1983, the MCU 2AP would just use a microphone assembly. These masks were developed by, the MCU was developed by Scott Aviation and MSA, Mine Safety Appliances Company. Scott Aviation uses a much similar design on their masks with the semi-transparent silicone for the facepiece. MSA also did that, but only in certain dates and like pretty early examples. There's not many semi-transparent silicone MSA MCUs out there. But disregarding all that, the only way you can actually tell that this mask is a XM30 in an experimental model and not an actual MCU 2P is the gray hydration tube on this example. Here's my 91 dated example of an MCU 2AP. You can see it has the microphone adapter. This one's dated 91 by MSA. You can see that this example has a black rubber or black silicone hydration tube. It also goes around here and into the side right here, and the valve cover is much different. This also has a black rubber or silicone ring around the filter area, the valve area, and this mask has a green silicone valve area. Also, this mask does feature a very experimental valve area right here. This is dated 1982, this mask. I believe this may be an ILC Dover example, but it could also be, I don't know, it's probably an ILC Dover. I couldn't think of any other manufacturers that it could be. I do know, I'm going to make a disclaimer really quickly right here. This is going to be a review, and there's only going to be a few 100% known facts in this video. I'm going to leave all the actual full history of this mask to Noah LeBlanc on the GMCC and Instagram, and to some other people that know more about the XM series than I do, because I don't know much about these, so I wouldn't be a good person to actually give a historical basis on this. Another person would be probably Pixel Productions 100 or Nick Sherman. He's on the GMCC or Instagram, so you can probably contact him through there if you have any questions. Another way to tell is of course, I've already shown you this, the date roundel right here. This is much different than any other MCU series mask. I don't believe the XM29, which was developed in 1974, mid-1970s. I'm not going to say 1974 for sure, but I've read that somewhere. But yeah, mid-1970s, they would not have a date roundel at all, the XM29. The XM29 was like a full silicone facepiece mask. This is a, the facepiece, the actual visor right here, this is a secondary part to the actual facepiece. It's cemented in right here, glued in. This little block of rubber, this is only seen on XM30s and very, very, very early Scott MCU masks. This mask is a size small, and this was issued to the United States military. Well, not issued, it was sort of experimented with the United States military, but they didn't end up adopting the U.S. military didn't end up adopting the XM30. They just went for sort of the M40, basically the XM40, the M40. They went with that instead of the actual MCU. The only people who actually ended up adopting the MCU was the United States Air Force and the United States Navy. I believe the Air Force was first in 1983, and then 1984 was possibly the Navy. But someone can correct me on that if I'm wrong. Sorry, looking at my MCU, looking a little strange. But also, I don't actually, I do, hold on. I have this brochure from Scott Aviation, from Nick Sherman. It shows what Scott Aviation wanted the XM30 and XM33 to actually become. They wanted the MCU, they wanted it to become the MCU 2P and the MCU 2AP. They were trying to brand it, but yeah, I don't know. They kind of failed. Of course, Scott PM864 series. Scott, a Fiji international company. Here's the XM33 right here. It's like an aircraft variant. I don't believe this is an XM34. It might be an XM33. And on the back you see just a standard XM30 with a chemical hood. This is dated 1983, October of 1983, around the time that the actual MCU 2P was developed. And here on the inside, you could see, currently in production at Scott Aviation for the U.S. Air Force, the MCU 2P mask protects the faces, eyes, and lungs of military personnel from chemical, biological, and riot control agents. This mask was developed by Scott Aviation as the XM30 mask for the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army never adopted the XM30. The MCU 2P mask field model is designed with a detoxifying, quick-change canister that attaches directly to facepiece for use by ground support personnel. And then the aircrew members model is the XM33 and XM34. This is an XM33, I believe. I don't actually have an outsert for the XM30 because those are also experimental and not very easy to find. And I do not have an XM33 or an XM34 because those are impossible to find. I'd have to get one from another collector. You can see that this canister right here, that is likely a very early C2 canister. The one I got with this is not actually, the one that was used by the XM30 was not actually the C2 canister. It was a much earlier experimental model that was in use with the XM29. The thread pitch would have been much thinner. It would have like 2 rings instead of the 4. It was quite weird. This one is dated 1992. Another item I have with this mask is something that probably would not have gone with it, but I have a M258 Decontaminating Kit by Mine Safety Appliances Company. This is dated October of 1975. So it was around the time of the XM29. This is another one of these examples that was before the M258A1, which had a label or like printing right here. The inside, unfortunately, is empty. This one has a little like poker right here. I'm not sure what that's about. That is not seen on the later M258A1. There we go. The coolest part about this mask is actually the experimental head harness for this mask. This is actually a head harness from an M17, the C8R1 head harness, but it was modified to take this little loop right here that is seen on new gen, or the new production head harnesses for the M40 and the MCU 2P, or the M45 as well. These are generally just C8R1 head harnesses, but with this little loop and better elastic. This is literally just an experimental C8R1 head harness. You can see it's quite bad, so I just used the one from my actual MCU 2 AP. You can see that these masks do yellow quite a lot, or discolor quite a lot, because it is, of course, clear silicone, so why would it not? This mask also has a little number at the top of the forehead called, or it says 2690. Don't know what that is. Maybe a serial number. I don't know. Actually, no, the serial number is over here. It might be a lot number. No, that's okay. I don't know. But this one says 11892. The one in the brochure says 20273. It would be really cool to get the one from the brochure, but you know, XM30s don't just pop up every now and then. I had to get this from another collector, and it was about $350. Yeah, these are quite expensive. You actually put the C2 canister on this. There we are. There we are. The carrier I have for this mask is not actually for the XM30, it is for the standard MCU 2P. That is, I can't get an experimental carrier for this. Those are like impossible to find. Would like to kit this mask out, but of course all the accessories would be quite hard to find. I would love to get an XM8 hood, but you know, again, can't find those. I'll show you the inside and then I'll end this video. Here is the inside of the mask, basically the same as the standard MCU. See you guys in the next video.